about 11 lines up from the bottom. Vika the Rabbi Chono. What about Rabbi Chono? The Omer Rabbi Chono, Omer Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Chono said, name Rabbi Yochanan, Mitzri Sheni Noso Mitzris Rishona. A second generation Mitzri, meaning a Mitzri Rishon is a person who converted as an Egyptian to be a Jew. That's a Mitzri Rishon, first generation. A Mitzri Sheni means the father converted, the father, mother, let's say both converted to be Jews. They were Egyptians. So he's Mitzri. He's second generation Mitzri. So the second, his child would be permitted to marry into Klal Yisrael. Mitzri Sheni Shenosa Mitzri Shishona. The male is a Mitzri Sheni. He's a second generation Mitzri. That means his father was the convert, and he married a woman that she was first generation convert. She was the convert herself. So Rabbi Chana says in Yochanan Benosh Shlishi. Their child, although the mother is what is a Mitzri Rishon, the child is considered third generation. He's considered a kosher Jew. So what is this a case of? Yesh kiddushin vein aveiro. Right? It's a permitted marriage. It is a marriage here. They're both marriageable to one another because they're both Jews. And it's kshera. There's nothing sinful about this marriage. Hakol holechach hazocher. So who does the child identify with? Not if it would be the mother, the child couldn't marry. Couldn't marry into the Jewish people because he's a Mitzri Sheni. If you'd say Hakol holechach harapogu, you'd say that the defect is attributed to the what? To that party. So because the child identifies with the father, so the father is a second generation Mitzri. So what's the son? Son's a third generation. So why is it mentioned in the Mishnah? It should be mentioned as one of the examples. On that the verse says Tana kol mokum dereisha lasuye. When it says kol mokum, it says every situation where there's yesh kiddushin ein aveiro, that you identify with the male. This case is included in that case, in that statement. He's not a second generation. The Mishnah says a principle. Yesh kiddushin vein aveiro. Right? If this kiddushin is no aveira, then the child identifies with the male. Okay? So what's the question? So why is it stated in the Mishnah? The answer is the introduction of the examples includes this case. Tanakol Mokad the Reisha Lasuye. The statement of wherever we find this kiddushin is no aveira, that includes this. Ula Ravdimi Domasheni Have. Ravdimi argues. Ravdimi quoted Rabbi Yochanan differently than Rabbi Chana. He says Rabbi Yochanan is of the opinion that it's a second generation. So why is that mentioned? Tana Ezu Lemute, as we explained. You have we had it earlier. If you have a ger marry a mamzeris, right? We said earlier, if a convert marries a mamzeris, which is permitted according to Rabbi Yossi. But we say, what is the child? It's a mamzer. So the question was, but it's yesh kedushin vein aveiro. A mamzer is permitted. A ger is permitted to marry a mamzer. Somewhere says the examples when it says ezu zu, the examples. It's only these examples. Kohen Levi Yisrael. But you have cases where it's yesh kedushin vein aveiro, where the pagam, the defect, is attributed to the child. We don't go after the male because the ger is a kosher Jew. But yet, if the wife is a mamzeres, the child's a mamzer. So ezu zu lemute. So Marsa Goika, the Chiosu Ravin Amr Rabbi Yochanan. When Ravin had returned, Ravin originally was a Babylonian. And when he returned from Eretz Yisrael, he had quoted Rabbi Yochanan saying, Bu'umus hocha holach achar hazocher. That among nations in the world, which Gemara on the second side of the page discusses this, if you have, let's say, an Amaleki. The woman is an Amalekis, and the husband is some other ethnic group. And he has a child. The child, they're both Gentiles. How does the child identify? It identifies based on the paternal line. Although the mother's Namalekis, the child identifies based on the male. Or let's say there's a lav, los chaykon neshama. If you're from one of the 7 nations of Canaan, you have to annihilate them. The mother is from one of the 7 nations, and the father's not. The child identifies with the male. This is when they're not Jews, non-Jews. Okay? Bumas hochelach achar hazocher. Nizgairu. What happens now? They convert. Any of these people. Holach achar hapogum shibishneim. Wherever the defect lies, the defect manifests itself whether the father or mother have it. The Gemara will give an example. The Torah says, Lo yovi amoni movi b'kal Hashem. And Ammoni and Movi never, forever, even if they convert, they're considered illegitimate Jews, forever. And we say Ammoni v'lo Ammonis, Movi v'lo Movi. It's only the male, not the female. So you have a situation. Let's say an Ammoni marries a regular woman; they have a daughter, right? So we say after conversion, the child identifies with the nationality of the father. So what's the daughter? She's an Ammonis. But if it's an Ammonis, it's not a problem. Because the Torah says it's only the male, not the female. So although she's labeled, her nationality is Ammon, but that's Ammonis, the female is permitted. Right? So in that case, so let's say you have an Ammoni marrying a Mitzris. His wife is an Egyptian who converted. So, and it's a daughter. Is it a problem? So the father's, his identification is no, the father's an Ammoni. Is not a problem because she's a female. But since the mother, let's say the mother's a first generation Mitzris, what is she? She's a second generation Mitzris. So wherever the Begam is, wherever the defect lies, that will be attributed to the child. Because in this context, being a female, the father's issue is not an issue. Because the Torah says it's only the paternal line, if it's a male, not a female. But because the mother is an Egyptian, and it's a first generation Egyptian, so how do I identify the child? As a second generation Egyptian. It's all based on psukim. All psukim. No. Right. Wherever the defect lies, that defect will transfer onto the child. No, the other's not a blemish. I just gave you the example. If the father is an Ammoni and the daughter, and now they have a daughter, so it's a female, that's not a blemish. Regarding a female, that's not a blemish. No, then it carries over. If it would be a son, it would. So let's say you'd have the mother. Let's say the mother would be a second generation Egyptian. The father's an Ammoni, and they have a son. So from the mother, it's not a problem because the son would be a third generation, so he would be permitted. But since the father is an Ammoni, so the child now takes on that blemish. So the son can never marry into the Jewish people. Because wherever the defect is, that defect transfers onto the child. Convert, you could always marry. Convert's not a problem. We're speaking marrying an original Jew. Right. Okay? Same thing. Be the same thing. An Ammoni marries a regular convert. And they have a son. The son is an Ammoni. They have a daughter. It's a female. It's permitted. Right? Because it's no worse than, let's say, a couple who, he's an Ammoni, she's an Ammoni. They convert. And they have a daughter. The daughter is permitted. Okay? Full Jew. Right. Only marriage. Only marriage. Correct. Okay. When the non-Jews, the nationality identifies is based on the paternal line. Nizgairu, but if they convert, then holach achar hapogum, shibishneim. Wherever the defect lies, regarding which one, the parents, the mother or the father, that will transfer onto the child. So here we're speaking about yesh kiddushin vein avera. It's a permitted marriage. There's no transgression. Yet we're saying that it's similar to the ger marrying the mamzer, the mamzeres. So it says tana ezu lemute. So when we give the examples that it identifies with the male, right? So the examples ezu is an exclusion. What is an example of that? It's limited to these three cases. Which three cases? Kohen, Levi, and Yisrael. But you have other cases where there's kiddushin and there's no aveira, and yet it does identify with the female, with the mother, as we just said. Haimai. So now, we had that question before. Who do we attribute the Mishnah to? We had an argument initially. Rabbi Yossi says a ger is permitted to marry a mamzer. Because we say, kal gerim eno kal. Correct? It says, lo yovo mamzer bekal Hashem. A mamzer is not permitted to marry into the Jewish people, into the congregation of Hashem. So Rabbi Yossi says, a ger is permitted to marry mamzeres. Why? Because kal gerim eno kal. The congregation of gerim is not a kal. Rabbi Yehuda says no. A ger is not permitted to marry mamzeres. Because even gerim are classified as kal. So when it says lo yovo mamzer bekal Hashem, the gerim also are classified as kal Hashem. They're not permitted to marry. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, when Mishnah says yesh kiddushin v'yesh aveira, right? We say hakol achar apogam, where there's kiddushin and it's a sinful marriage. The defect is transferred onto the child. So the Mishnah says that would be a case of what? The child's a mamzer. But the Morichin said, according to Rabbi Yossi, that it's permitted. So then the defect should not transfer. But yet we had a problem. Everybody agrees that ger shabol a mamzeres, a ger marries a mamzeres, the child's a mamzer. So the Morich gave two answers. Either the Mishnah is going like Rabbi Yehuda, because this is considered yesh kedushin v'yesh aveira. Then the Gemara says, or it could go like Rabbi Yossi, and when we said ezu, it's limited to these three cases, right? So now the Gemara is going to go and address this right now. Haimai. If we'll say, as we originally wanted to say, that who do we attribute the Mishnah? The Mishnah is anonymous. If we attribute to Rabbi Yehuda, who holds that a ger is not permitted to marry mamzeres, not permitted to marry mamzeres, kol mokum dereisha, lasu yisrael shenos chalolo. We had earlier. Everybody agreed that if a Yisrael marries a chalola, his wife was the product of what? A union between a Kohen. He married a chalola who he's not permitted to marry. Their child is permitted to a Kohen. Although the mother is a chalola, the defect of the mother does not transfer over to the child. So, why isn't it mentioned in the Mishnah? So the Gemara explained, because the Mishnah doesn't read. You can't say, what is an example? Because everybody agrees a chalola cannot marry a Kohen. So therefore, it had to be included in this general statement, wherever there's kiddushin, there's no aveira, right? Lasu Yisrael kol mokum. Even though there is aveira. Right? The Gemara said earlier. Shlushim ein aveira. Yisrael, we're talking about Yisrael, excuse me, not a Kohen. Yisrael marries a chalola. It's yesh kedushin vein aveira. Yisrael marries a chalola. The daughter is permitted to a Kohen Gadol. It's permitted. So we say that's included in kol mokum, the reish lasu Yisrael shenos chalola. Udraba babachona. No, we say everybody. Nobody argues that case. A Yisrael marries a chalola. Everybody agrees the daughter is permitted to a Kohen. We said, wherever you have kiddushin, there's no aveira, permitted. Okay? Okay? So the mother being the chalola does not transfer over to what? Over to the daughter. Uda Rabba Bachona, Rabba Bachona, as we said here. Rabbi Bechona Ezu Lemute. Rabbi Bechona, he says that after they convert, the defect, although it's Yesh Kedushin, the Ein Aveira, right? We have the case. The Ammoni marries the Mitzris, right? So we say what? We say that, and it's a girl, it's a daughter. An Ammoni marries an Egyptian who's a first generation Egyptian, the mother. So the Ammoni is not a defect for the daughter, correct? Because she's a female. So, but if you say it's a marriage, yesh kedushin ve'ein aveira, and yet we say that wherever the defect lies, transfers to the daughter. So what is the daughter? She's considered a second generation Egyptian, so she's not permitted to marry. So where's that addressed in the Mishnah? It's contradictory to the case of the Mishnah. Ezu lemute. So that goes ezu. And what is the example of this? It's an exclusion. These three cases. So Ezu comes to exclude that case. Although it's Yesh Kiddushin Vein Aveiro, the marriage is a marriage, and it's a permitted marriage. Nevertheless, we don't identify with the father, right, with the father's nationality, calling it just Amonis, but rather with the mother, and therefore we call her a second-generation Egyptian. So far, the Mishnah reads okay. Lamute, Ezu Lamute Duravdimi Verovin. No, that's right. But it's irrelevant. Yeah, but that will be irrelevant because once you're tagged with Ammoni, it's over forever. So it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Or what? Again? Cholol? A cholol is only limited to Kohanim. So it's not a lo yovel. Yeah. Now we're talking about the product of that relationship. The mother's a chalola. So. We had earlier. What about if the father's a chalol and he marries a bas Yisrael? There's not machlokas tanoim if the daughter's a chalola. It's a machlokas. See, that was Tosis. We'll see the interesting Tosis. The third Tosis on the page. Cholo shenosa bas Yisrael havlad holech achar azocher. Okay, according to one opinion. Pirushu cholo kamo aviv. So the Gemara originally asked the question, if a cholo marries an ordinary Jewish woman, which is permitted, so Gemara says, over there it's yesh kiddushin ve'en aveira, right? Right? So the Gemara says, why isn't that mentioned? So the Gemara said, because it's an exclusion. It's limited to these three cases. Right? No, the Gemara says kol. Kol. The kol means it goes after the zocher. It does identify. According to it's a machlokas tanoim. There's an argument among tanoim if the father is a cholo marries a regular Jewish woman, right? There's a machlokas tanoim. What is the child? And it's a daughter. Is the daughter a chalola or not a chalola? So the Gemara asked, but it's yesh. It's yesh kedushin ve'en aveira. So if you say it's not permitted, the examples are only these three examples. If it is permitted, it's included in the opening statement. Here, if you're of the opinion that a cholo marries a regular Jewish woman, the daughter is not permitted to go in. It's not because you're identifying with the zocher. Now, what we said earlier, let's say a non-Jew has relations with a Jewish woman, right? What happens? She becomes defiled. If she now marries a Kohen, what is the child? The child's a cholo, because she has a defect. Why? Because she was defiled by what? By the non-Jew, because it was not a permitted marriage. So the Gemara asks, so Tosis asks, when a cholo marries a bas Yisrael, maybe the reason why the daughter is a chalola, not because hakol holech achar. The Gemara asks the question, why isn't it mentioned in the case in the Mishnah, the father's a cholo marries an ordinary Jewish woman, permitted marriage, yesh kedushin vein aveira. So we say, if we go identify with the male, it should be mentioned in the Mishnah. Right? But yet it's not mentioned in the Mishnah. So Tosa says, because it has nothing to do with the defect of the father. It's because when the father, the cholol, had relations with the mother, she became defiled. She assumed that defect, and therefore that defect is transferred from the mother. That's the reason. It has nothing to do with that kol echar zocher. It's like they both now have that defect of cholo. So Tosa shows that's not the case. That when a cholol has relations with the Jewish woman who's permitted, she does not become a chalola. The Yeshloma da korchoch psulo ben shel ben labishum psul din nekevahu. Of course, we would say because regarding kahuna, that defect regarding Kuhuna, because he's a cholol, regarding Kuhuna, that somehow transfers onto the woman, his wife, onto his wife. Maybe. We don't, maybe.
Why would you even contemplate that? A mamzer marries a kosher Jew. Why would you think that the kosher Jew would become a mamzer?
Let's say a mamzer marries a woman, okay? And then she's widowed from the mamzer. Is she permitted to a Kohen? She's not permitted to a Kohen. No, widow's permitted to a Kohen. She's widowed this way. I didn't say she was divorced. She was widowed because she was defiled because the mamzer was not permitted to her. She's a defiled woman. So it's not because she's a widow, because she's defiled, because the relationship she had was not permitted. See, here we're talking about it is a permitted relationship. We're talking for Kohen, only Kohanim now. A cholol marries a Bas Yisrael. Permitted marriage. So we say, according to one opinion, their daughter is a chalola. No restriction. What, if the daughter's chalol, she can marry a Kohen? A chalol is not permitted to marry a Kohen. No, that's our question. Maybe that's the worst question. That's Tos's question. Maybe the reason why the Gemara asked the question: if you have a cholol marrying a Bas Yisrael, the daughter is a chalola. The daughter is chalol according to one opinion. So machlokes tanoim. So if that's the case, it should be mentioned in the Mishnah that you go after the male. Although the mother is a totally kosher Jewess, the defect identifies with the male. Whenever the marriage is permitted, no aveira, you identify with the male. So why is that mentioned in the Mishnah? That was the Gemara's question. So Gemara says it's included. It's included in what it said. Kol. When it says all, okay? So says maybe not. Maybe factually, the mother, maybe it's not because it identifies with the male. The mother has become a defective woman. She assumes the defect of the cholol. The wife of a cholol becomes a chalola, and therefore their daughter is a chalola. So it's not because we're identifying with the father, with the male. That was Tos's question. It transfers to the mother. Therefore, the child of that woman, her daughter is a chalola. Okay? So Tosas answers, that the defect, the cholol status of the child is not because the mother became a chalola. Why? Because the Yisrael shenos chalola, yochiach. We said earlier that if Yisrael marries a chalola, everybody agrees the child is a kosher Kohen. Meaning, if it's a daughter, Yisrael marries a chalola, the daughter is a kosher woman. She can even marry a Kohen Gadol. Shabito kshera lakuna. So we see clearly that what she has does not transfer. She's a Yisrael marries a chalola, right? The child is a kosher Jew, even for a Kohen. So we see the defect of chalol from the mother does not transfer onto the child. So it's clear why. So why if a cholol marries a Bas Yisrael, why is the child a cholol? It's not because the defect of the mother transfers. If it's cholol, transfers onto the child. Because you see clearly, if the father is Yisrael marries a chalola, the daughter is permitted to a Kohen. But she's a chalola. Why doesn't her defect transfer? Evidently, it doesn't. Chalola does not transfer. It's only because it identifies with the father. Therefore, that's the Gemara's question. Why is that mentioned in the Mishnah? Cholo who marries a Bas Yisrael, according to one opinion that the child is a chalola. Here you have yesh kiddushin, the ein aveira. You identify with the male. It's a permitted marriage, so that should be mentioned in the Mishnah. Why isn't it mentioned? So that the more answers, it's included in kol. Kol includes that. Okay. That child would be a chalola, according to one opinion, because you identify with the father. Father's the father. Well, the cholol is understood. That doesn't bother me, right? The father's not a Kohen, the child's not a Kohen. Yam, what's it? Defect. No, but we don't even defect. We say whatever it's a permitted marriage, you identify with the father. But we don't need because we don't need kol hechachar pogum. No, it's a defect. Because if the daughter's a daughter, it's worse than being a Bas Yisrael. She's a Bas Yisrael with a defect. She can't marry a Kohen. She cannot marry a Kohen. No. No, nothing. He's not permitting Truma. Even though we had a case for Xer Sakosef, if he officiated where he wasn't aware that he was a Kohen, that he was a Cholo, his Avodah is valid. It works. But in terms of contamination, Truma, any of that, he's not permitted. He's like Yisrael. Exactly. Okay? Ezuhi Lamuti Drabdimi Vrovin. Okay. Kol Mokum the Sefer Lasuye. So when it says Kol Mokum, what would that come to? The Mishnah include wherever there's kiddushin and there's avera. So that comes to include. So the Mishnah gives cases, but you have a case. What would that come to include? Because the Gemara says, according to Rabbi Yehuda, what would the case be? Ger shenosam amzeres. Correct. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it's not permitted. So what is it? Kol mokum sheish kiddushin v'yesh avera hakol achar apogum. So what would the case be? Howard. Right? It says wherever you have kiddushin, there's avera. According to Rabbi Yehuda, what the case? A ger marrying a mamzeres. This kiddushin yesh avera. So you identify wherever the pagam is. So the woman is defective. That defect carries on to the child. Eli amar Rabbi Yossi. But if you're telling me, according to this Ibo same of the Gemara, the Mishnah could be attributed to Rabbi Yossi, Kol Mokum the Reisha Kedamoran. The Kol Mokum of the Reisha is, as we said. What is the case? As we explained everything until now. Ezu Kedamoran. And whatever we excluded, as Elok Kol Mokum the Sefer Lashiyimai, what does that come to include? We have a case. We give examples of Yesh Kedushin Yesh Aveira. Specific examples. According to Rabbi Yossi, what's the Kol Mokum coming to include? There's no case. Right? According to Rabbi Yossi, wherever you find Kedushin Aveira, it can't be Geru marries a Mamzeres because there's no Aveira. Correct? And the examples of where we have Kedushin Aveira, they're stated in the Mishnah. So what is Kol Mokum that would say wherever you find this, it's totally superfluous? In the ratio, the Kol Mokum comes to include cases which are not mentioned in the Mishnah. Correct? Like you have the case, Cholol who marries a Bas Yisrael. Right? So that Kol Mokum. Although it's permitted, nevertheless you identify with the male. Not a Kol is not, it's an inclusion. Inclusion. Not a, no. Included, not excluded. Zu is an exclusion. Zu is next. Kol is an inclusion. So what are we including? Yesh Kedushin v'yesh Aveira. According to Rabbi Yehuda, you have a case, which is not mentioned. That's Ger Shenosam Amzeres. Right? According to Rabbi Yossi, so what is the Tana including? So what does he make a statement, which is an inclusive statement, if we're not including anything? The examples, the Mishnah. There's nothing included. It doesn't make sense. I'm making a statement to indicate there's something included, but yet there's nothing included. So don't make the statement. So what does the Tana make the statement? Kol Mokshesh Kedushin V'yesh Aveira. You give me every example. There's no other example other than the example stated in the Mishnah. Right? Because according to Rabbi Yossi, Ger Shnosam Amzeres is permitted. Permitted. So it doesn't fit the profile of the next statement in the Mishnah. There's no Aveira. So Kol Mokum the Sefer Lashima, what does that come to include? No, there is no case.
It's a partial exclusion.
There's no Aveiro. There's no Aveiro.
Exactly. So it should include. That's why it's included. It's only partial exclusion.
I make a statement.
To marry
No, you're missing the point. You're missing the point. The Mishnah makes a statement where you find Kedushin and sin and transgression.
Right.
Wherever the defect lies, that's where you go.
Right.
So if your opinion is Rabbi Yehuda that a ger is not permitted to marry mamzeres, so who has the defect? The woman has the defect, not the male. So therefore we say, because the woman possesses the defect, the child's a mamzer. So it's very good, even though that case is not mentioned in the Mishnah. Correct? But according to Rabbi Yossi, that a ger is permitted to marry a mamzer. So what is the case if there's kiddushin and there's aveira? The marriage is a marriage, but it's not a permitted marriage. That we say that the begam identifies with the one who has the defect. There is no case. According to Rabbi Yossi, it's permitted. All those cases are permitted. I'm only marrying a mitzvah, so all that's permitted. No, it does say that. It does say that case. And a mo marries a Yisraelis, or no, let's say she'd be an amo. It's permitted also. It's permitted. If she would be, let's say, a givon, a Yisrael marrying a mamzer. That's the case given in the Mishnah. The Yisrael marrying a mamzer, right? So that's yesh kedushin v'yesh aveira. But what about the case of ger marrying a mamzer? According to Rabbi, it's a kosher marriage. So what does the kol come to include? Wherever you have a marriage which is a marriage, but it's forbidden, the defect transfers to the child, identifies with the child. What is the case? Every conceivable case is stated explicitly in the Mishnah. Right? Because according to Rabbi Yossi, it can be the case ger marrying a mamzeres, because it's a permitted marriage. So what is the Tana when he makes the statement, which is includes something which is not mentioned? There's nothing more than other that's stated in the Mishnah. Right? So what's the meaning of that statement? That's the Gemara's question. It does, it says. We'll learn Chulin, we'll discuss it. It does, it discusses certain cases over there. It discusses certain cases. Same problem. No, Kol is always including something that's not mentioned. Well, see, that question you should have asked right away a lot ago. Right? Okay? So versus Ul Tamech, and according to your understanding, the review, the Ezu, the Sefer, the Lomali. Okay? And we say, and what are the examples of this? These are the examples. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, what is Ezu coming to exclude? Ezu is an exclusion. These are the only cases, no other cases. That means you have cases, Yesh Kedushin, Yesh Aveira. Right? According to Rabbi Yehuda, Kol includes Ger Shenosa Mamzeres. A convert marries a mamzeres, that's in the Kol. Ezu, these are the cases. Right? These are the cases. What are we excluding other than these cases? There's nothing excluded. Ela I did ton a Reish Ezu. Since the Reisha stated Ezu, we have cases, we said, which is limited to this. Right? Tona Sefer Ezo. It's just to maintain the symmetry of the Mishnah. So that's why that's not called superfluous. If the Mishnah starts with that statement, it has to be addressing something. But in the conclusion, to maintain the symmetry of the Mishnah, it uses a similar language, although that language is not including anything. Ochanami, Aydin Tona Reisha Kol Mokom, which over there it's inclusive. Tona Nami Sefer Kol Mokom. Go ahead. You need it. You need it. No, we said that certain things can be said explicitly in the Mishnah. You have the case Yisrael Shenoso Chalol. Everybody agrees. Yisrael Shenoso Chalol, the child is permitted to a Kohen. That can't be included because it can't be included with. No, it can't be included with the examples because he says a Chalol cannot marry a Kohen. It's addressing that. So Kol has to be said. To include examples that cannot be stated within the context where the Mishnah states the examples. It is the rule. That is the rule. Kol is always the rule. It's not the exception. I don't want to make it confusing something which is not confusing here. Simple. Just go a little further. Gufa. He also Ravan Amar Rabbi Yochanan. When Ravan had returned, he said, regarding nations of the world, the nationality identifies with what? With the male. Nizgayu, if they convert, halachach rapogum. Shebishneim. Wherever the defect lies in either of them, that the child identifies with the defect. My buma socha lacharasocha. What is the example? Kiddushin, minay lechad minu umu shebo la kananis. Now Rashi explains, Cananis means it's just a generic term for any one of the tribes of Canaan. Right? Although you had 7 tribes, every one of the 7 tribes, the generic name is Cananis. If you had a nationality coming upon a Cananis, one of the holy Ben, and they have a child, you're permitted to purchase that male. Meaning the law of los chai kol neshama, that you have to annihilate the tribes of Canaan, have no application to that child. Talmud Lomar. Where is it learned from? Gam ibnei atoshavim hagorim imochem. Toshav means the citizens who are living among you. Me'em tiknu. So what are we speaking about? We're speaking of somebody came from elsewhere, married a Canaanite, and they had a child. From them you're permitted to buy. You're permitted to purchase their offspring, although the mother is one of the tribes of Canaan. They're Toshavim. They've only become citizens of the land. To be continued.